All right, we are in the African Wilds tournament. It is Monday's qualifying round. So my typical MO is on Mondays. I will use Mondays as a practice round. You get a free practice round. You don't have to use practice tokens. Back in the day before practice tokens came out, this is how you got a practice round on Monday. And the cool thing is if you don't qualify on Monday, then you get the $1.99 offer with the katanas, which is probably the best deal in the game. But here we go. So hole number one. So if you're watching this because you want it all flushed out, you want all the good stuff, this is probably not the one. But if you're looking at different ways to play the holes and trying to figure out, today's goal is to establish, I have notes, and I want to make sure that the club ball combos that I picked are all correct, and then I can start working on the shots going into the cup. Hole number one. All right. The whole goal here is to try and get on in one. So I shot in the walkthrough video. I talked. There are so many different ways to play this hole. You can lay up. You can try and get over. You can do a max overpower hook. You can lay up. You can try and get over. You can do a max overpower hook. There's a lot of different ways that you can come at this hole. And in one-on-one, it's good to know how to do all of them, because in one-on-one, depending on how the wind's blowing, you might change your shot on this. I'm going to try, because from the last time I played this to this time, I now have an APOC that's got all of its curl, so I'm going to try and just curl it over instead of doing the max overpower hook shot. So with the max overpower hook shot in the past, if you have an APOC and you only need 2 or 3 topspin, 2.5, 3 topspin, first, second, third cut of the rough, I put my ball guide so that it was right along the transition between the second and the third cut. Took the wind out. If we have tailwind, you need a little bit of extra wind, so pushing it forward like a ring and a half, max overpower hook, trying to get right through the gap. But I'm going to try and set up here and see if I can do a blind curl shot. So what's going to happen is I'm going to be rolling out from the tee box to the center of that fairway. I'm going to be rolling out in this direction, so I'm trying to cover this gap. And so I'm going to start off probably 3 or 4 rings off of this transitional surface and then do a blind max curl shot and see where I end up. And it'll tell me whether I need to come in a little bit because I ended up out here, or I need to go out a little bit if I ended up in here. And so we'll try and work that out. Take the wind out. Since we've got tailwind all week, we'll be able to work against our red line. I think I can get it done with a 3-power, 3 side spin ball, but it might be easier to do it with a 4-4-4 because I can get up a little bit farther into the shot for the max curl. So we'll have to play it by ear. I'm not sure which way I'm going to go yet on it. I have done every shot here except for this one, and in the past it was just a curl, and we've got bigger side spin balls, so things change. And so when you come back to these holes, you may be able to figure out a different way of getting it done. I'm going to start off with just a 3 side spin ball and see what that does, but I may switch to one of the 4-4-4s. I'd like to see some 4-4-4s in the store this week. Those are great utility. The working man's ball. Hole number 1. Here we roll. Getting out on the course. Hole number 1. If I can get an opponent. I may shoot these as individual videos. Well, it's a practice day. Who knows what the hell's going to happen. Me missing putts. Nobody wants to watch an individual video where you're shanking shots that you won't qualify. Now, I've not attempted this shot before, but I'm pretty sure it's possible. My opponent's got an APOC 5, and they are, if they're going to do a hook, they are not right spot. It might be better to bring out a bigger power ball. Let's see what happens with them. They hit it so far good. Who knows what the hell. Nice. Very nice. I wouldn't want to have to try and replicate that. I'm going to start off 2.5 rings off that transitional surface. Take the wind out. It's 1.5 per ring, so that's a third less than 2 rings. Max curl. Isn't it perfect? And let's just see how much run we get. If I need to use a topspin ball, or if I get enough to get, and I can go out. I did have enough, and I can go out about 4 rings. I'll go practice this. I need to put something on so I can get some practice tokens. There's a few of these holes I'm trying to work out this shot right here, so I have a setup, so I have a spot to start. The thing about ending up in the sand or the rough when you're up close like this is it really is all about hitting perfect. Like, you can get away with it great when you're out in the clear, but if you're in the sand or the rough here, you have to hit it perfect. But it's hard not for it not to go in. The wind is going to play a factor here. I'm going to go right on the edge of the cup. Oh, wintering great to the left. Just a bit outside. Arr. Arr. What's up, baby? Well, that was, let's go do that again. Let me get something going so I got some practice tokens on here. We'll customize. We'll get 2 things going. So hopefully we can, where is the, it was hiding. All right, hole number 2. No, we're going to go practice that. What we're doing. What was I thinking? Let's practice. Practice. Okay, I'm going to overdo it. So I was like 2.5. So I'm going to go out. I could go out 3.5 and see if it, so I know what the range is there. I'm going to do a full 3. I won't overdo it. I think 3 is the right number. 4. Hole number 1. I suppose if you were doing it right, you had practice tokens, you practice the hole. That's the way that you're supposed to do it, so you can maximize their stuff and maximize your effort as you practice it until you get the adjustment for the current wind conditions, and then you go out there and you shoot it, and then you practice it until you get it right. So you may play the hole once, you may play the hole 4 times, 5 times in order to get it right. When I first started playing, Greenock Point is the course that, like, the way that the original course layouts were. Greenock Point was the one that really kind of, where you learned how to do, you were forced to do blind curl shots. And I'm going to go, I think I was 3, I'm going to go a full 4, 3-6. It's 1.5 per ring, so that should be 2.5 rings. Pretty close. A little less. Max curl. hitting it perfect. Four rings off. And if I had a ball that had some topspin boost, it would be helpful. Even if I just had one right there. I mean, that's putting you in the zone that you really want to get in right there. I mean, that is a super high percentage shot. Whether you hit it perfect, one ring great to the left or the right, that you're in the zone right there where you're in the super high percentage. But if you could get a little teeny bit closer. And I'll have to go back, when I go back and watch these videos, one of the things that I'm looking for when I'm watching it is where my bounces are at. So, because sometimes you're like, hey, I need to make this adjustment, but if you went back and watched where your bounces are at, if you make that adjustment, now you're going to be, now you got another problem. Ooh! Nice. That'll work. That will work. Where am I at here? There's max. There's mid. So I'm at mid rapier. So it's 3.9 divided by 2.4. 1.62 rings. Hey. There's 1.5. There's 1.6. And I hit one ring great to the left. Go in. Woo! Right on the edge of the cup. In the past, that would have rolled out. So I'm proud of Playdemic for finally realizing that once a ball catches the cup, it's going in the cup. And if it pops out after doing a 360 or a 270 or a fucking 941,000, it swirls around the cup for 5 minutes and then pops out. That's called a funnel. A cup, once it catches the lip, it's going in. So I do have to give props to Playdemic that they have gotten cool by making it swirl like that, so we all have the little thing. But the cool thing is that it's actually physically going in the cup, and that's what it should be doing. So anybody Playdemic, thank you. That popping out of the cup thing is impossible. Whole number, okay. That was it. So that was the one. So I'm going to put on my notes here, 4 rings off. 4 rings off. And I'm going to cross out Titan and put Kingmaker. Now, I could do it with the Titan, but I'd have to, and I might only be 2 rings off. So you just have to work the number for whatever the ball is that you're using. And if we got tailwind all week, we'll be able to pick that spot because I'm right against the red line. You can just work the wind out every time. Okay, hole number 2. What the hell is hole number 2? Got some good notes on 1. Now 2. 2 is up. Okay, so the shot, there are ways that you can go with this. You can, and I'm sure in one-on-one, most of the time you just lay up right here. And it is a hell of a shot to try and get down to the cup. My goal is to try and get out into this area. And there is a rough bump that you can do. And I'm going to do a 30% to the cup. So if I can get to the... And I think that this rough bump is so far away that the only way you can do it is with a Goliath. But I'm going to take out a Grizzly and see. And then I'll know whether I have to switch to a Goliath for the second shot. But I'm pretty sure you have to switch to a Goliath if you want to do the rough bump. I'm pretty sure. But it's hard to get out into this area. So it's very likely that you're going to end up doing a rough or a... And you want to be, if you're in trouble, you want to be up here. You do not want to get in trouble back here. This is no go. No bueno. So I'm going to take out a power 5 ball. And I'm going to take the wind out. Well, I'm going to take the wind out, and I think it's a max over power shot. So we'll have to see how it works out, because there is some danger in here. There is some danger, Will Robinson. And the deal is you really need a big power ball on both shots. And if you're in trouble, it doesn't hurt to have a big power ball. Extra mile. I might be better with the APOC. We'll have to see. We'll see. It's been a long time since I played this hole. Whenever the last tournament was. Which could have been yesterday, but it still seems like a long time ago. Yeah, it is definitely a max OP. And I think you can overshoot it if you catch it. I'd really like to be is out there with just a titch. I'm only going to put 6 topspin on. Whew. 3.5. It's 2.1 per ring. So there's 3.5. Hitting it perfect. The deal there is you got to hit it perfect if you want any shot. I could have left some of that topspin on, but the deal is that fairway that I'm in right there is crusted. So if you're on the left-hand side, it's starting to drift left, and if you're on the right-hand side, it's starting to drift right, and it's impossible to just like run along the ridge all the way to the end. So you're going to drift off on one side or the other, and the way that the fairway tightens up, especially on the left-hand side, the farther you go, if you're moving to the left, you're going to end up running out of fairway. And if you look to the right, you still got 40 feet, but that's a good spot right there. See if my opponent can get the same thing going. I think they left the wind in. See, they got a lot more distance right there on their run. That's what I'm talking about, is that if you look to the right, if they would have been right in the middle of the fairway, they may have just barely bled off the tip. But once you start rolling off on the end, it's very easy to get off trajectory. Okay, there's max. There's min. I'm going to do a max number, so it's 0.9. So it's 1.3 times 4.6 equals divided by 0.9, 6.64 rings. But I don't know is if I have enough. I don't. So if I want to take that shot and do the rough bump, I'll have to bring a Goliath. 6.64 rings. There's 4, 6, 6, 4, exactly. Hitting it perfect. Woo! In the hole. That works. And I got lucky there that it was the bounce thing. If it would, you know, that's the thing about this particular hole. I think the rough bump is probably the best way. But you got to bring a Goliath. And I'm going to make that note, Goliath. And it's probably going to be in mid club. So I'm not sure if we should be doing a mid plus 30 or if we should be doing a max plus 30. That'll be the question down there. And that freaking rough is so skinny that the little G string. The other problem with doing the rough bump is that if we're having tailwind all week, it's more than likely that we're going to end up having to pull over the sand. So paying attention to that sand to see if the sand is really distorting the rings. Exit. All right. That was hole number 2. Hole number 3. You get an idea. Hole number 3. What is hole number 3? All right. There's there's really three ways you can go at it. You can go at it. You can rough bump off of here, you can rough bump off of here. So sometimes if the wind was blowing, anytime the wind is blowing where you have to encounter the sand here, unless you've got a low wind ball, these rings are going to distort your pull, and you'll have to make an adjustment for it. But if the wind is blowing like in this range where it's going from this block, going in this direction, you can move over to this one, and then now you're pulling over the fairway, so you're out in the clear. If the wind was blowing from this direction, now this spot and this spot are kind of bad, but you got a little bit more room out here. But knowing how to do all three of those shots, so depending on the wind, you can make an adjustment. I'm going to go off of this spot with a 5% adjustment. And I may work on that. The last time I played it, it was between 10 and 5. I made some at 10, I made some at 5. It might be a 7.5. It may be a max plus 1, or it's some small adjustment to the cup. Trying to bring a low wind ball here, and I'm using a 1 power ball so that I don't have to pull the rings into the sand. But in practice, let's see what I got, because I don't think I have a lot of low wind. Power 1. I don't think we need a lot of spin. I'm going to take a nav. We'll see how bad that is. An eyeball is probably the one, or a spider, as far as lowering the wind down. I don't have a lot of those, so I want to save those for the rounds. Get a chest going. So yesterday I got the off-roader, and it was in the store. So I bought a couple just to round the number up so that it was divisible by 3, so that I could get it in the club card trading. So I had 2, and then I got it again today. So I'm only one more off-roader in the thing to getting it to level 7. I've been working a lot on my big topper and my off-roader to try and get those up, but there's a club coming up that could actually supplant my Nirvana. Okay, in this situation, I want to be as far forward as I can. Four miles an hour. Hitting it perfect. Oh, and I forgot to do the fucking +5 as I was sitting here zoning. So it should have been 4.2. Now it's about how far it was off. Damn it. What was I thinking? I was sitting here zoning. I was daydreaming. I was looking at the wind direction, and I was trying to figure out where the spot was where I could try and involve the least amount of sand. When I did the pull, if it looked like I wasn't pulling it, I set a mark on the transition between the sand and the rough where they intersected, and then I pulled parallel to that, so that I was pulling 4 rings regardless of what the deal was saying. And if anybody out there understood that, like, hey, congratulations. Sorry. It's weird how we'll have things that we do for setting up, or if we get distortion. It's just the way that we do it. And it's hard to explain sometimes. I will miss my putt. Since I'm not qualifying today, even though I got that lucky Albie on hole number 2. The lucky Albie. the thing is that for me, my game, I want to get Albies and hole-in-ones because those are the winning shots. Where for my game, my success or failure is almost always based off par fours. If I have success in rounds on par fours, then anything else I can pick up. Any lucky shot like that where the force is with me and I won with the force, fucking blind squirrel find a nut, whatever you want to call it. Any of those are the winning shots, but I got to get it done on the par fours. So like hole number 1, not getting it done, that's a hole we got to get it done on. It's the hardest of the par fours, the middle one being the second hardest, and then the last one being a must get. But we really want to get all of the par fours. That's today's focus, is to really make sure that we can get those par fours down. Hole number 4. Hole number 4. And this is another par 4. Now the thing about this par 4 is you're at the very end of your run and you're trying to make sure that you can clear this little rough area. Now you can set it up right here fairly easily, and you got a short little pitch. And it is a short little pitch. And this is a pretty high percentage shot. But getting over to the other side is even higher percentage. I'm trying to get over to the other side. And I am taking a extra mile and a power 5 ball. Extra mile. Now this is where a ball with topspin boost, they had those balls out not too long ago, topspin boost, using a little bit of the wind. We'll have to see. Max topspin. Should be no overpower here. I could take the wind out and put 1 ring in, since we know we're always going to get tailwind this week. We could factor that in, take the wind out and put 1 ring back in. You can do a max OP shot like my opponent's going to do here. They're going to leave the wind in, and that's a huge variable. So like today we got a 3.9, tomorrow we got a 2.3. Next day we got a 5.4. And so that variable that's in there on how far it's going to push you on your bounces, you see they almost cleared it. And they're almost in the rough. If they would have cleared that, they'd be in the rough right there. So if the wind was blowing a little bit harder or a little bit less, the outcome is going to be totally different. And take that variable out of play. All of the topspin. I'm going to take 4-2 out, or 4-1, so there's 4-2, it's 2 rings. And forward distance, I want to put 1 ring back in, and then just hit it perfect. Hitting it perfect. Try and get it so that if we've got even though the wind may come in from a different angle and we might have a little bit different adjustment, if we've got tailwind all week, we can set the shot up so that it can be more repeatable. I don't have a problem doing overpower, but if you can get away from doing overpower so that you can replicate the shot over and over, I mean, that's the success in tournaments, is being able to replicate those shots over and over. Yeah, what was that, dude? I'm going to chip this in just because these are shots you want to have a lot of faith in. Lots of faith. You ready to go to your mama's?
In the shower.
Oh. In the hole. All right. Hole number 4 in the bag. I think I got the right stuff on that. Let me make a note here. Pull out wind. Add 1 ring back. All right, hole number 5. Hold on 1 second. All right, dogs, come on. Hole number 5. Hole number 5. I better slow down. What do we have at the top? Let's see. Like during play, anybody that's watched my videos before knows that I don't ever look at the top. I don't want to know. I don't want to put any pressure on myself. I just want to go out there and shoot around. And sometimes it works out, and sometimes it doesn't. But I don't want to know. But here, like, let's see where people are at. So minus 14. And we've got another minus, this person at minus 12 at 7. So they're at minus 15. They just play it out. And we have to get hole number 8. So they're really at minus 16. And that's what we should be looking for. We should be looking for minus 15 as a minimum. Anything better than that, now we're putting ourselves in the hunt. Got some scores coming up. All right. I should be all right. I should be okay. Hole number 6. Still got a lot of holes to forfeit on. Am I on hole number 6? I'm on hole number 5. I'm on hole number 5. What was I thinking? I was like, wait a second. How did I miss 5? All right. Of the par 3s here, I mean, there are 3 ways you can play it. You can bounce it over, you can do a rough bumper, you can start off on the green side. I'm going to start off on the green side with a Grizzly, 2 power ball, low wind if possible, 4 backspin, half a right-hand side spin. I'm undecided. The last time I played this, I was at plus 10, and I was still working on it. It looked like I needed to do more of a pull. So I was at plus 10 at max, even though I don't think I'm at max. Well, I'm pretty close to max club. I'm going to bring a katana. A katana. Which I have one of. Better buy a few. Let's get out on the course. Grizzly. Grizzly. Okay, so it's plus 1.1 times. I'm going to do a 15% times whatever the wind is. Now I'm using a low power ball, so I should be doing 0.9 per ring. So I'm going to do a 10% at 0.9 times 3.2 equals divided by 0.9. It's 3.91 rings. 4 backspin. .91 or 3.91 rings, almost 4. Hitting it perfect. See if we can get a read. Didn't pull it quite enough. Closer though. The last time I took it, I watched the video. I was about twice that far away at the plus 10. So the 15 did get me closer. But plus 20 was too much. I saw the video I did where I was at plus 20. I was on the other side. I'm going to do plus 17 and a half. We'll try that out. Try and perfect my notes. I'm not sure what the best way. I've taken the shot on the green side more often than any other shot here, so obviously I've made more with it, but I do it more often. I have made some of the rough bumps here, but I don't like those type of rough. I don't like that area. It's one of those areas that if you end up not making just even a slightly bad adjustment, you could hit a little forward and you're farther down the hill, and that means the bounce just literally stops when it hits and you're instantly stuck in the rough. Or you can hit it up a little higher up on the hill, down in that rough bump area, or lower on the hill, and it'll take a flat, low trajectory and it'll scoot. Hole number 6. What is hole number 6? I'm using an extra mile, a Kingmaker, and it looks like I'm trying to get in a grizzly range, and I'm doing a plus 30 to the cup. And I got a 373 plus mark, so like 373 I think is the low end, and I want to be beyond that. Let's look at the hole. Let's see if those notes match up to the hole. Alright, the goal here is to get down into this range right here and come straight at it with a grizzly. And I think if I'm in the 373 range back here, there is a red line issue with a 3-power ball where I'm having to put topspin on my long iron or backspin on my wood in order to get it in. And the way this green is set up is you do not want to have to come into this hole with topspin. Because if you shoot past the hole even a little bit, there's like a ridge that runs like right here, and everything else is downhill. And if you just barely shoot past the cup, it's very easy to get caught up in the rough. You want to be far enough up there that you can engage some backspin to try and stick it to the cup. I think the range I want to be in is like the 390 range. I'm going to use a Titan. A Titan! The king of balls. That's right. You heard it here. Bag number 1. Looking for distance. So whatever bag you have that's got the most distance. Now there is another way you can go at it, and what I should do, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it here just because I can't remember. Like my normal goal is you just come out here and without doing any overpower, you're just trying to get up into that spot. But I'm going to try and hit it up into this spot because I think there's a rough bump up there, and I can't remember what it looked like. I can't remember if it was something that was like, hey, next time you're on this hole, you should do that. Hitting it perfect. And let's try and get as far down there as I can possibly get and see if I open up that rough bump. 435. I think the deal is that you can probably do it, but you have to bring a Goliath. I don't think my Grizzly's enough. So it'll be like that other hole. There is a rough bump there, but you have to bring a Goliath. That was the other par 5. I will tell you, just laying it up there by the sand and going straight at it. Now they're a little short, in my opinion, at 347, so they're going to have to use a wood. There is a rough bump, and I hit it too far for the rough bump. A minimum club. So it's 1.3 times 3.4 equals divided by 1.4. 3.15 rings. There's 3. Whew. That was the 1-5 short. So I hit it great to the right to make up for it. And a perfect would be fine. So there is a shot from over there, but you'll have to work out that red line. So like I needed to either not quite hit it so far or hit it farther so that I was in my short iron range. But from that distance, I'm not sure, like if you had an upper developed Hornet, I'm not sure if it's got enough topspin to get you there. You might have to use a runner. But there is a shot from up there. The way to do that is to bring, because I still had some area in front of me that I could have gone to get distance, but what you could do is bring out a power 4 ball and really not try and get too much farther forward than where I was at. And then that will put you in your short iron. Just by having the power 4 ball, you'll be at max club. On a week like this where we know everything's going to be tailwind, I wouldn't want to be in that situation where we've got a headwind because it's right there on the limit. But with tailwind, you could work it out. There is a shot. I'd be curious whether I don't think the 6 topspin on a Hornet is enough. I think you'd have to use a runner. Maybe. So we have a couple different ways that we can play that hole. At least something to look at. Because we have tailwind all week and we can work that area right there is something that we can work if you like those types of shots. And you do have a pretty good run at it. The other thing I like about that shot is if you look at where the hill's at that I was talking about, where it rolls off, when we're coming from this direction, if we miss the cup, bam, we're on the hill. But if you're coming from this direction, even if you couldn't do the rough bump and you just had to run it up there, you're kind of running everything on this side of the hill where it's flat, and if you miss the cup, it'll just stay up here on the top where it's flat. It won't roll off. So it could be a little bit safer. But if we're having tailwind all week long and you get caught where you have to involve the sand, it is pretty, it does look pretty steep there where you might have to involve using this, pulling over the sand. Something to think about. You got a second, another way that you can play it. There's not just one way to play these holes. Some holes, obviously, there's one way to play, but some of them, there's multiple ways we can do it. All right, I'm using, okay, here's what I'm doing. This right here is flat. You can see there's a little ridge right here, and from that point it rolls down, 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 down. So there's a flat area up here at the top. So I want to be 3.5 rings off of this transitional surface out so that I'm up here barely on the top, like the center of my bullseye is like right at the spot where it's flat. I'm going to make a 60% wind adjustment. And I'm going to do max club. I'm going to do 1 per ring. I think that's what I was doing in the past. Even though I'm using a low wind ball, I should be doing 0.9. I think in the past I was doing 1. So I'm going to stick with that. So I'm going to do a 60% times the wind. And whatever that is, that's what I'm pulling. All right, here we go. Here we go. I'm going to use a 0 power ball. And I think you can easily get it done with a Marlin, but I think if you got a little teeny bit more side spin, it is better. But I'm going to use a Marlin. Here we go. Here we go. All right, 3.5 rings off. Not much of anything. Maybe like 1 backspin and a sliver of side spin, but it's not a lot of spin. A little. Whatever it takes is pretty much it. I need to write this number down because then if I get the spin stuff right, then I can put the spin on it and then you can just put it where that spin works. Okay, so I want to be like 3.5 rings off. Two point six, 4.16 rings. Now here's the problem on this hole, is you're so freaking far above your stuff, it's hard to make a good adjustment. Because that was probably like 3-4. Hitting it per 4-4. In the hole! 60%. I dicked around on this hole and dicked around on this hole, and the numbers are all like 20% or 30%, and none of that shit was working for me. And I was like, you know what? I need to pull more. So I was like, I'm going to pull a big number. And the number I started off with was 60%, and it went the hole. And I was like, wow. And I did it again, and it went the hole. And I was like, wow. Now I need to go back and watch that video to see how much spin I put on it. Because if you can put that spin on and then move it to that spot and get it where it's going to the cup. But the hard part here, even if you do everything right, the hard part here is the adjustment. Because you can't get really close to your rings, and you can't, like, especially when you got that type of an adjustment, you can't pinpoint it. It's hard. Y'all know the deal. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Alright, that was 2 of the holes that I need. I need to actually drop some shots here. Otherwise I'm going to end up qualifying. So I picked up a couple. Got the par 4 that I needed. Hole number 3 is a par 3. I didn't get hole number 1. That's the bummer. That's the one. But I did figure out what the ring set is on that. So I should be able to make that pretty consistently as the week goes on. Hole number 8. What is? Hole number 8 is a par 4, and we have to get this one. We have to get this one. Now, if you roll in at the top and it comes in, it will, as long as it's not going so fast that it just rolls across the green. But if it's just rolling and it picks up the green, it'll roll up the hill and right back down to the cup. I'm going to try and give myself enough room through that gap that I can hit a 1 ring great to the right and a perfect. But I'm not sure about anything else. Anything else could be bad. I've got extra mile and a kingmaker on my notes. Kingmaker. Now, I'm not so sure that a utility ball, a working man's ball, would be better here. Maybe. 1 less than max topspin. 3.5 right hand side spin. Well, how was I doing that if I was using a kingmaker? The deal, you know what the thing is, I think when I shot the video that I took these notes from, they changed the way that spin works because they came out with the balls that have 4 and 5 side spin. So before that, our spin range was different. It wasn't 1 bar for a Marlin, 2 bars for a Quasar, 3 bars for a kingmaker. It was more, and that's why I wrote that down. So it's not, I don't think it might not be max side spin. Maybe. It's probably like 1.5. Now, if they use the wind to their advantage here, they just pop it out there, they should be pretty close to being just right. That is just right. You can see how it picks up the green and then it just rolls down towards the cup. Nice. Very, very nice. One less than max top. .5. That's a third less than 2 rings. Hitting it perfect. And I was slightly leaning towards the right, and I wasn't even rubbing the nub over power. I just wanted to stay in that corner. And it'll just roll down towards the cup. That's what we're looking for, right there. It works. I'm going to miss this putt because I don't want to take any risks that I qualify. But that's this is a must-get hole. Like, we look at a par 3 and we've got to get we've got to get a birdie. We've got to get it. We've got to get the eagle on this hole. There's just no two ways around it. No way. No way. All right. Hopefully the -12 will not make it, and it did not. Excellent. Excellent. I'd hate to make it with that. So we do have a -16 up here at the top. This is what you're going to have. This is what you're looking at. No Albies there, but just all 3 of the par 4s and picking up 1 hole in 1. So setting themselves up by picking up all the par 4s. That's what we've got to do in every round. And then anything else that we pick up is the winning shot. All right, that was a practice round. I do like my notes. I got some more notes. I'm going to go back and I'll watch this video and make sure that I tighten my notes up. I may make a whole new note sheet now that I've had a practice round. And because I did make a few changes, but not many. Be safe, have fun this week, and I will catch you on the next one. I think on the next one, I'm going to get with Dunner tomorrow and see if we can practice, get some practice in, maybe even tonight. Thanks for watching.